Here I am with yet another video in Wealth with Seema. So here I'm going to give you 10 tips that you need to consider when you are going for a health insurance policy. So the points here, the first point is like what is the covering amount that you need to take. So the ideal thing that you need to consider is like you need to first consider what will be the hospitalization charges per day in the city that you live in currently, and what will be the hospitalization days that you might require in a year. So that ideally we can consider that for a young people like us, we can consider it to be an average of 15 to 20 days in a year. And when we consider our old parents or senior citizens, we can go up to a limit of 30 days per year. So the ideal coverage amount that you need to think is the number of hospitalization days multiplied by the hospitalization charges per day in your city. So if in your city your hospitalization charges might reach to some 25 to 30,000 per day, and then the cover that you need to take for yourself is 30,000 into 15 days, and so it will come up to 44.5 lakhs. So I can go in for a coverage of 5 lakhs. So for me and my family. And we will have a family floater. That means that each member of the family can go in with this coverage. This 5 lakhs doesn't get distributed among the family members. So the next is like similarly for your elder parents, it will be like 30 into the hospitalization charges per day. This is the ideal way to consider the how much coverage amount you require for a for insurance, health insurance policy. Next is the most important thing. When should you go in for an health insurance? See, most of the people think that I am very young and I am very healthy, and if God forbid, and let you continue to be healthy forever. But then we don't know what are the uncertainties that we need to face, or we may not require for ourselves, but we may require for our dependents. We may have dependent parents, those who are sick or they are not as healthy as you are. It is your responsibility to give them the kind of treatment what they require, and it becomes very difficult for you if you have to shell out the money that you have saved. So why don't we go in for a health insurance for our dependents? Sick. So it is like you as early you take, you will get in at a smaller rate. That means you are very young, so you don't have any diseases, as you told, you are very healthy. So your premium will come up to a very small amount. And this is what you're going to continue all through your years. And there is a concept like when you don't avail the premium, you have got something called no claim bonus that gets added up. So for the small age, a small amount, your coverage increases. So as the days, so this is something that might pinch in the initial times, but I will tell you how you can even avoid that in my video. So for this, but as you grow up, this will not be a great liability for you because you have got a much smaller amount for your health coverage. So ideally, like it is told 25 to 35 years, it is better to getting into a health insurance policy. And even there are insurance policies where where what you can do is at different stages of your life, you can go in for a top up. Maybe if you got married, so you want to add your spouse, so you can do that, and so you can go in for a top up. The next is so, and there are many people who tell me that I already have a coverage from my company. That is, they already have a corporate insurance. But what will happen if you leave that company? Your insurance coverage also stops. So it is always advisable to have your own health insurance along with your corporate coverage. Because once the thing you would have accumulated a lot of claim bonus and all that will go waste once you move out of a job to another job. The health insurance doesn't come along with it. It is always advisable to go in for another own health insurance and then continue with your corporate insurance also. This is another point that you always need to keep in mind. Then, how do we decide on the coverage? Like now, we need to cover our dependents. Now, if it is our family, we are young, so our coverage amount will be different. And when we add our old parents, because they will have a lot of already existing diseases, they will not be healthy, their ages, they are more older than us. So all these things add up to your coverage amount. So how can you reduce your coverage amount? Is to have two separate health insurance, one for your parents and one for your family. This way you can reduce your commitment towards the health insurance, but you can keep your family and your dependents more healthy. The next thing that you need to consider is whether the already existing diseases are covered, or what is the waiting period that you need to wait for uh, the already existing disease. So there are some insurance companies, like there are certain diseases that doesn't that get covered on from day one on. So what you need to do is like what we need to do consider when taking it. Like what is the least period of a waiting period that you need to wait for already existing disease? That might be 1 year or 2 years maximum. So this is something that you need to consider while going for the uh, in health insurance. Now, next thing is like whether your room rent is covered. Most of the health insurance cover the room rent, but then there would be some percentage of your total covered amount. So it might be 1%. So what will happen is if you go for a room rent higher than that, then that the difference amount will be taken from your side. So what will happen is other expenses also will will be considered in that amount. See now, if you are a policy where you can cover your room rent up to 5,000, but situation forced you to go into hospital where your room rent is 6,000 rupees, you have to shed out 1,000 rupees from your hand. So this is coming up to 15%. So what happens is the other hospitalization charges also the 15% of that will be taken from you. So this is not something that you want. You have taken in health insurance so that you go in for a cashless insurance. So you need to consider a health insurance where you don't have any limit to your expense. So this is one another thing that you need to consider. And how many times can you get hospitalized? Is it something that you can control? It is not known to anybody. Maybe in a year, there are years where you never needed to go in for a hospitalization, but then it was followed by a year where you needed to go for a hospitalization 2 or 3 times. So what will happen? Like on the first time, you have exhausted 2 lakhs, and then the next time again 3 lakhs. Then the third time, you need to shell out the money from your hand. No, the most of the health insurance policies come up with a top-up plan. What they do is they reimburse whatever you have used. It is first time you got hospitalized, you have used 2 lakhs, it gets reloaded. So it gets stopped. So you need to consider that whether that facility is available. The next very, very important thing that you need to consider is like what whether how many network hospitals are there very close to your place where you live in. This is very, very important because many times I've heard people telling me that I didn't have any, I couldn't find a network hospital nearby, but since they're giving reimbursement, I went and got my got my fees covered or got admitted in a hospital nearby and I have applied for the reimbursement and I didn't get it. Now, when you have taken the step of going for a health insurance, you have taken the pain of considering all the points and taken in health insurance, then you would like to go in for a cashless. So in when you're going for a cashless one, then you need to see whether you have hospitalized hospitals near your house that you can on emergency go and get admitted and get treated in a cashless way. See, and there will be health insurance that you have opted for your parents, and your parents may not be living with you in the city that you live, and they will be living in their villages. So in that time, like the policy that we take for them, we can be very sure that they can go into any hospital because already they are old enough and they need to go and search for a hospital where this cashless is taken. That is very, very difficult. So you need to see that the hospital that is very near to them is covered under your policy. This is a very, very important thing when you think about the old parents because I've heard many people complaining that we are not able to get the reimbursement and we're not able to go for a cashless option that we have. Next is the claim settlement, whether the insurance policy provider has a good claim settlement that is out. Anything above 95% it is fair enough. It is out of 100 claims that they have got, more than 95 people have got their claims settled. That is, they are able to reimburse their money or they can go in for the cashless. So it should then be limited to any amounts we above this amount. We are not able to cover that amount. You have taken a hospitalization, health insurance, you have decided on the limit or coverage, so you need to get covered for that entire amount. The last and very important point is like when you opt for a health insurance with 5 lakhs, 7 lakhs, or 10 lakhs coverage, your EMI or your premium amount also will be equivalent to that. It will be somewhere like 20,000, 25,000, or 50,000, something like that. So how, like I am not able to pay this at a shop for an entire year. Is it possible for me to pay monthly or quarterly or half yearly in that way? So because that is something that I can afford to. Going for a one shot is very difficult. So you need to see that whether your health insurance or providers have that option of paying your insurance in smaller chunks because that is something that you can afford to buy. Maybe later on you can move in for an annual payment, but is it possible for you to consider that? So these are the 10 different tips or things that you always need to consider once you are going in for a health insurance policy. I hope this was very informative for you. Thank you for listening. If you want to hear more tips about your insurances or investment, you need to subscribe to my channel so that you get notification whenever I release these kind of videos. Thank you for your patient listening.